Hello, friends. What is up? Welcome back to another episode of We Wanna Talk Podcast. I'm Kaylyn.
And I'm Alyssa.
And welcome back. Oh my gosh, it has been 3 weeks.
It's been a minute, yeah.
Since we...
I feel like we say that every time. We're like,
oh
sorry guys, we got busy.
Seriously, we're eventually going to get back into the groove, I promise. Last week, Alyssa came and we were supposed to record a podcast to go up, but Alyssa forgot her laptop.
Totally forgot it, didn't realize it, and I live 2 hours away, so there was no going back.
Yeah, and we used her laptop to hook our mics up to, and I have a laptop, but it is currently broken.
Out of commission.
And Mike was using his for work, and it was just, a problem, okay? But it's okay. She didn't forget it this week.
We're here today.
We're here. Okay, so once again, y'all already know the drill. Make sure you follow us, like, subscribe, share, follow us on socials, follow us in Apple, Spotify, YouTube, whatever it is. That way you're getting the notifications for when we do post, and you know when we're posting. So that's always good. Okay, so obviously last month was October. We kind of did some fun ones for October, like we did the creepy stories. We kind of did some stuff like that. So now we're diving into November. We do have some fun ideas in place for December, I think.
Also, please send us ideas, because we love to hear what y'all think. I feel like the Q&A episode did really well.
Yes.
Please let us know what y'all want to hear, too, because that matters to us.
100%. Yeah.
Yes.
But since we were doing so many kind of like themed ones, or we've been doing like the Q&A, the creepy stories, and kind of doing that, we really wanted to dive into a good topic this week. And this has been a topic that Alyssa and I have been even discussing with each other with our personal lives, like our real life. Like, this is a topic Alyssa and I have been talking about a lot, and really just wanted to talk to y'all, share our opinions, and maybe you can give us your thoughts afterwards, and maybe really just help anyone else who's going through anything similar. So with that being said, this week's episode is about careers, marriages, and babies.
Woo! Real shit.
Like, wow, that is, and even if you're not married or have a baby, or maybe you're even in high school, you're too young for this, or maybe you're even 30 years old and you're maybe going through some of this stuff right now, just give this a listen.
Yes.
This might still be for you.
I feel like we're just in a really odd age, and like we put so many timelines and so much pressure on ourselves to, have this done by a certain age. I want to do this by a certain age, but like, what are we even really doing, you know?
Yeah, so we're definitely about to dive into all of that and kind of share our thoughts on all of these topics and where we stand with them. But before we do any of that, we figured that in case you're new here, or in case you forgot, or maybe you just didn't even listen to the first episode and you don't know much about Alyssa and I, here's a quick backstory on us so you understand why we're even discussing these topics. So, hello, I am 22, I am married, but I am a college dropout who gets asked every single week when she's having kids.
That was a great introduction.
Thank you.
I'm 22 as well. Not married. Also a college dropout. We kind of did that together.
Let's go.
Yeah. And I'm nowhere near having kids. So we're both on like two different spectrums, I think.
While also being very similar.
Yes.
Like, it is kind of good for us to compare, or not compare in a bad way, but we can kind of give y'all, like, examples of where she's at in her life and then where I'm at in my life. Okay, so with all of that kind of being said, you understand what's kind of going on with us.
Yes.
Obviously, we have to dive into careers first, because, or even careers, we're going to tie in with, like, college, too. So, honestly, I feel like this is such an important topic because, like we said, we're both college dropouts. We both have jobs and a somewhat career, but we were just we were like, let's save the questions in the chat for the podcast, but we were also kind of just talking about it because Mike and I were kind of talking about this yesterday, but like, how are you supposed to decide on one career?
That's one thing that gets my gears. Like, I feel like we're made to do so much more. Like, instead of being stuck in one job or doing one thing. Like, because there's a lot of different things that fulfills us differently as people. So, but I think also a lot of people don't have the courage to step out and do those things.
I agree. And I don't know if you read, then you might have just recently read Miss Colleen Hoover's It Starts With Us. And in the book, Lily and Alice are actually discussing, like, or I don't even remember if it's Lily talking about it with Alice or if she's talking about it with another person in the book. But she's basically saying, like, how do I know that the flower shop is what I want to do forever? Like, I've thought about doing this. I've thought about doing that. Like,
I don't think we ever truly know.
You know, like, you're always going to get tired of your job, whether it's after a year, whether it's after 20 years, 30 years, 40 years. Like, there's always, nothing's ever going to be perfect.
Right.
Like, nothing's ever going to fulfill you completely forever.
A lot of even, like, social media influencers have been saying, like, I'm not feeling fulfilled anymore.
Yes.
Which, when you think about it, TikTok and, like, the whole influencing world is hitting that, 2-3 year mark where it's become really big, and now they're getting tired of it, and they want something new. Like, Jenna Palick. Is it Palick or Palick?
It's Palick.
Palick. She's, like, freaking out, having a whole identity crisis. Like, I don't know if I want to do TikTok anymore.
Yes.
So,
for sure.
It's just confusing, but I don't think we're ever supposed to just have it figured out. Like,
yeah. And as y'all know, for Alyssa and I, we started Ivy & Co. a year and a half ago. We started the podcast, at the end of this past summer, I think, is when we started. And then, like Alyssa was just talking about, similar to Jenna, I was so, as y'all know, and where a majority of y'all come from is my TikTok. And so TikTok has been a job for me, especially the last few months and around the months of me getting married. It was bringing in a lot of income for me, but TikTok fluctuates so much, and I'm getting to the point where I'm not really enjoying
creating content.
Like, it's such like a niche app, and I don't want to focus on, it's different because I'll sit here and I'll say, like, I don't want to have to focus on the social media aspect of it yet. I do the social media for Ivy & Co., but it was just like it's different, you know? Like, I didn't want social media to have to be my job. I don't want to depend on something like TikTok, and so I decided to start, and if you haven't heard this yet, then you're hearing it now. I decided to start wedding planning a couple of weeks ago because I wanted more of a stable career, which will kind of lead us into the topic of we both want Ivy & Co.
to eventually be our career.
Obviously now mine's going to be alongside wedding planning because I'm not just going to stop this whenever Ivy & Co. takes off, but for now, I needed something more stable than just the boutique. But kind of going back into me doing wedding planning and kind of diving back into, like, college, I get asked all the time, or even both of us do, but especially since I announced the wedding planning, I keep getting asked, like, so, like, what did you major in college to be able to do this? Like, how did you start doing this? And I'm a college dropout, y'all. I went into college, which I think we were just talking about this a couple episodes ago, but I went in a communications and a multimedia journalism major because I thought I wanted to be a news anchor until I took the classes, and I was like, okay, this is not what I want to do. I thought you just got to go and sit behind the chair and be pretty for TV. I didn't know you had to write your own stories and stuff. And journalism is not my thing at all, which obviously the name multimedia journalism should have given that away for me.
Red flag.
Should have given that away for me, but I don't know. I just, wasn't putting two and two together, and once I did, I was like, okay, this is not the path for me. So I changed to business because I was like, don't necessarily know what I'm going to do, but business is such a good major to have in college, good degree to have. Yeah, you can do anything with business. So decided on business. After I did that, I kind of started to grow in my positions at the boutique that I was working at. And so then I grew a love for working at a boutique. And then that's when, I'll let Alyssa get into her whole story. But I don't have a degree to do literally any of this. But I feel like it's important to know if you're someone who doesn't want to do college, which obviously me being in college did help me get to these points because since I came here for college, I was able to work at the previous boutique I worked at. And then if we're kind of going back to wedding planning, in college I was in a sorority. The position I held in my sorority, I had to plan events for that. Like, I had to plan, like, if you know what college I'm talking about, you know, like, the sororities have Trick or Treat on Greek Street. I even created, like, a whole new event around Valentine's Day, and the sororities still do it now, which is, like, one of my favorite things to see. Cool. But I was planning these huge parties for sororities, and so that even kind of, I loved doing it when I was doing that then.
It is very much your personality.
For sure.
The organized, having a plan. If you know Kaylyn, if the plan does not go according to plan, hell's breaking loose.
Yes, for sure. And even at the house, I throw parties all the time. We just had the Halloween party.
And if people aren't here on time, where you at?
I love this kind of stuff, y'all. Yeah. And so it's not necessarily that I went to college for it, or I always knew I wanted to do something like this. It's just, you kind of like, you live and you learn. You know?
It definitely fits your personality and what you like to do, I think.
So let's talk about you.
My story is kind of very similar, but in a way. I graduated high school, immediately went to, not nursing school, but I was in school for nursing. And my first semester of pre-nursing classes, y'all, I didn't even, like, my first semester of pre-nursing classes, I did that and failed, like, 2 of the classes, and I was like,
shout out to nurses.
This is not for me. Yeah, if you are a nurse,
I could never do it.
Congratulations, because it's not for me.
Could never do it.
So I changed a business, did that for a little while, and I was like, you know what, I'm just going to start a business. Like, if I'm learning all this, why not just go ahead and start one now? That's when we started Ivy and Company, and at that point, I was like, okay, why am I still in school? I can be dedicating this time to my business, and there's no point in having a degree if I'm going to have my own business anyways. Kind of backwards thinking, I know, but so...
I actually dropped out before Alyssa. I dropped out...
like a semester before.
Yeah, so because at the college you were going to, it was the short semesters. So I finished in December, didn't go back in January because we were launching the boutique in February, March. Alyssa, you finished until April.
I did one more quarter till March. It ended in March. It ended right before we launched because I remember being so relieved that I wasn't having to do schoolwork. But, and I'm still one class away from...
I know, I can't believe you did that.
Having my degree, but...
I can't believe you did that.
Whatever. That's what I'm getting into, though, is we're kind of at a point where Ivy & Co. is not growing as it could be right now. So, like, obviously, like Kaylyn said, we want that to be our careers. But I'm kind of thinking, like, okay, do I need a backup plan? Like, should I go back to school? And then I'm also like, do I want to go back to school? I'm already 22. Like, everybody my age that went to school has already graduated. Like, am I late? Am I behind?
Yeah.
So that's kind of a battle, too. And it's also, if I do go back to school, what for? Like, do I go back for business? Or do I find something completely new? Like... I feel like that's just very challenging because you don't know it until you try it, but also school's expensive. Like.
Yeah. And I kind of want to backtrack to something Alyssa just said and give a piece of advice on that. But Alyssa was talking about how we're kind of in like a stopping point with Ivy & Co. right now. And I just want to say, if you are someone who also owns a business, whether you're making t-shirts on Etsy or heck, you might even be selling koozies or anything. If you're doing something like that and you're at a stopping point, do not let that hold you back. Like, when I tell you, is it something that I sit here and I'm like, oh my gosh, I wish Ivy & Co. could grow. I wish that we were doing better. Absolutely. But I feel like we're at a point where obviously I'm not happy about it. Like I said, I do wish that we were doing better, but I'm not going to sit here and dwell on it and think negatively about it or give up on it. Like, honestly, I'm really not even stressing about it. Like, I feel like I'm kind of just like letting whatever happens because I know that we're putting in the work. We're doing everything that we can. And so I just want to say that just because we're finding backup plans doesn't necessarily mean that you have to. We're just the type of people where we're at that point in our lives. Like, I'm married.
Yeah.
Like, I'm someone, I don't want to rely solely on my husband for my income. Like, I do want to be my own boss. I do want to work. Even after I have kids, I still want to work. Like, yeah.
Agreed.
Yeah.
Agreed. We've also had people ask if we're stopping Ivy & Company. We are not stopping Ivy & Company. Ivy & Company is in the long-term plans.
For sure.
It's not going anywhere as long as we can help that. So, to clear the air with that.
It's just not, it's not always sunshines when you're a business owner. And if you're a business owner, then you know that and you'll understand. And I just feel like we're at a point where we're just really kind of content with that. Like, it's going to grow whenever it grows, and we're going to be ready for it whenever it does.
And it's not a bad thing to have two careers.
For sure.
Because what if Abby & Co. pops off and then your second career is on the back burner? Like, that's okay, too.
For sure.
So, all of that to say, we're just in a really, our age is just a really weird spot, too. Like, choosing a career.
Yeah.
You also do that at 18. Like, what the heck?
Yes.
Who made that rule that you have to choose your degree at 18?
Yes. And we were also just saying, like, whether we would have dropped out of college or not, we probably still would be in this weird position because you graduate. I know so many people who have graduated or who just graduated this past May, which is when
and don't have jobs yet.
And don't have jobs yet. They're also, they moved back home with their parents and they're wondering what to do. And so it's such like a... I feel like the
grass is always greener.
The 22 through 24 age is so awkward and weird.
It is.
So awkward.
What am I supposed to be doing with my life?
Yeah. Speaking of,
that's what we're about to talk about.
That's what we're about to talk about. Marriage.
No, I'm just kidding.
Yeah. Which is. Y'all, we just have so much to talk about with all of these topics. It's so funny. I wanted to share a story. So last weekend, I was at the bar, and Alyssa hasn't even heard the story yet because she was like, wait for the podcast. I'm in the bathroom, and a girl's telling me, so I dressed up for Mrs. Claus for Halloween, if you don't know, and I'm dressed up, and she was like, I love your costume. I was like, thank you. And she was like, she said something like, do you have, like, Mr. Claus? And I was like, no, he's a Peaky Blinder. And she's like, wait, it's like your boyfriend didn't, like, dress up with you? And I was like, my husband? But no, he's something else. And she was like, oh, your husband? And it's like everyone I say that to at the bar.
They're
where
like,
I'm like,
what?
Where I'm like, oh, no, like, I'm married. And they're like, huh? And it's because we live in a college town. We go to college bars.
Where hardly anybody is actually 21 and able to get in.
Yes, and it is just so funny because I'm like, it's so weird. Because I'm like, but I'm only 22. Like, I feel like I should be able to go to the bars.
I know.
And have fun. But I know there aren't a lot of people who are married young. So I know that's kind of like where that comes into. But I was even telling her, like, a few months ago, Kayla Luke was asking, she's like, so when do you think, like, you and Mike will stop going out? But that's such a funny question to me because we're only 22.
22 and 23. He's 23.
Yeah, 22 and 23. In bigger cities, like, especially, like, LA, New York, people aren't going out until they're 21. Like,
yeah.
And so people are just now starting their partying and they're having fun phase. But here we are because we're in a college town. Even in high school, we started going out when we were
senior year,
Yeah, senior year in high school, 18 years old. I was going to bars before I was in college. And so it's like, I've been doing this for a while. So realistically, I could stop now. But then I'm like, I'm only 22.
Yeah. That same night that you had your bathroom story, I was in line for the bathroom, and this random girl ran up to me, and she was like, I'm just going to jump in line with you because the line's long, and, like, I'm just going to break with you. I was like, yeah, that's fine. Come on, you can go in the stall with me. Well, I get to talking to her, and she's like, so how old are you? I'm like, oh, I'm 22. She's like, what? So you were, like, actually able to get in with your real ID? I was like, yeah, that's what you're supposed to do.
I
was like, are you a freshman? She said, no, I'm a sophomore. I was like, oh, okay, yeah. But it's just so funny. Like, they look at us, and they're like, what are you doing here?
It's like, I really feel like when I'm talking to, like, the bouncers or something, like, I don't know if you heard me, but I was handing the bouncer my ID. I was like, oh, yeah, it's fake. Like, I'm too young to be here. And he was like, yeah, okay. Because, really, we feel old.
Yeah.
But
we shouldn't.
But we're not.
I don't think we should. Yeah.
No, we shouldn't, and we're not. But it's just, that's kind of everything that we're saying, y'all. We're in such a weird phase of our lives. Like, I'm married, going to the bar with my husband, with freshmen. I can't. I can't. I literally cannot. Like,
yeah.
And then it's like, do we stop going out when we have kids?
No. I don't feel like it's bad to party, like, while you're, like, my siblings still do it and they have kids. Like,
yeah.
I don't think there's anything, obviously in moderation, like, do what works for you.
Sure, for sure.
But,
yeah, because I don't know.
Maybe we just need to go to the city. Maybe we need to move to the city.
We need to move. We both need to move.
That's the conclusion.
We need to move. We're moving! Sorry, Mike. We're moving together.
You can stay here with Marley, or you can come with us.
What about Callie?
Oh, yeah.
What you gonna do about Callie?
Callie's coming regardless.
No, if we're not bringing my dog, we're not bringing your dog.
We can't bring my dog if we bring your dog.
Oh my gosh. Okay, those were
Where
some funny
were we?
stories.
We just got off topic.
Let me
okay.
take a break. Let me look.
Okay, we gotta switch the tone here.
Yeah. Okay, we definitely kind of got not off track, but
off track.
We're just getting a little crazy over here. Okay, so going back to talking about like our age and stuff too, even kind of, which is so funny we were just saying that because we're talking about how in a bar we feel old, but then I was even thinking the other day, like I had a chat with a bride and she's 29. I'm like, does she feel weird having a girl who's 22 years old and married planning her wedding?
Yeah.
Like, I mean, I hope she doesn't because I promise I know what I'm doing. But it's just like, I could understand why someone would.
Yeah.
Because it's like, no, it's just, once again, being in such that weird phase of your life. Like, you feel too young to do some things, but too old to do others.
It's so weird. Our whole point in this is no matter what age you are, like, you're not behind other people. Like, you shouldn't be doing something just because everyone else your age is doing it. Like,
but even with planning the weddings though, it's so funny because I feel like I just automatically assume that everyone's as young as me.
Yeah.
Because I got married young. So I'm just assuming and expecting everyone to be around my age. But then some of the brides, I'm realizing that they actually have careers. Like, some of them are teachers. Some of them, like I said, are 29 years old. Some of them, it's just so funny, like, seeing what different phases of life that they're even in and how, they're now getting married. And it's just, I understand, like, why people tell you to not get married young, like kind of diving into a different direction, but that just kind of made me think about it, like kind of wanted to talk about what it's like to get married young, because even sometimes like when I'm live on TikTok and it's random people scrolling past me, they're like, wow, like you're married young, and I could understand why people tell you to not get married young. Like, I want to make that known. Like, I understand why people are hesitant about it, but I was actually listening to, y'all know I love One Tree Hill. And so I love the Drama Queens podcast with Hillary Joy and Sophia Bush. I freaking love listening to them. They're so good. And they were actually talking about, which just kind of I always say this to, I feel like my friends sometimes, or I love giving this piece of advice. And this was something that Joy said in the podcast, and I loved hearing her say that because I was like, yes, like I agree 1,000%. But they were talking about how a lot of times in relationships, people will break up with the other person because they're like, oh, like I need to go find myself, I need to go travel and live life, I need to go to college and live life. And in Mike and I's situation, and this was something Joy said, she was like, you can be in a relationship and still travel and live life. You can be in a relationship and go to college. You can be in a relationship and change careers. Like, you can be with someone while you do those things. Instead of doing it by yourself, you're doing it with someone. And I think that's been something that Mike and I did, is I moved to college, but he moved with me. I've changed careers, but he's supported me. Like we went through life together, and we've matched each other on those levels. Like, even in the beginning of Mike and I's relationship, and I think I've talked about this before on here, but Mike worked at a grocery store, and it wasn't that Mike got a new job because of me, but I think it kind of helped be a little bit of a motivation. Like, Mike saw
it definitely is.
Mike saw that I was going to college and I was going and getting a job, or a good job, like a job that I was hoping maybe could, go towards my career. And so I think that motivated him to be like, okay, well, maybe I don't want to work at the grocery store in my hometown.
Well, I think it's also a lot of, too, like, okay, if we're going to do this relationship, if we're going to be serious about it, I want to be able to support you and our family, and I need to find something else, and I need to make a career change. I feel like that's a lot of the motivation behind it, too, which is great.
And Mike has done that. He was even talking to me about how we were at the country club the other night, and a guy was talking to him because when he got Salesman of the Month, one month, Kyle kind of posted his story, like, on the Franklin page about how Mike kind of came from nothing and made a life out of himself. And one of the guys at the country club was like, I admire you if that's true. And Mike was like, I mean, yeah, it actually is true. Like, it wasn't just, like, something, he shared. But it's like, you have to want to do that. And in Mike and I's relationship, especially him, I've seen him grown so much to want to, like, be ready to have a family, be ready to, like, have a marriage and have a life. And we went from living in our hometowns, me working at a Chinese restaurant and him working at a grocery store, to us both having careers and buying a house.
Also to say, totally off topic, we can jump back into it later. If you're in your hometown, get out.
Yes,
run. If you've never experienced a different city, get out. Run for the hills. You will be so grateful you did it.
We cannot express to you how much getting out of your hometown will save you in your life.
It puts you in uncomfortable situations, but that's when we grow the most.
Yes.
So,
for sure. Such a life-changing
snaps
experience. But, okay, back on topic. I also wanted to say, because I feel like this is kind of a way for me to give a little bit of, like, marriage advice, because
not that she's a pro or anything.
Yeah, well, definitely not. But just definitely wanted to say, like, while we're kind of talking about all of this, it's really important for you to not, like, because the people, like I was just saying, the people that Mike and I were at 18 and 19 are not the same people that we are at 22 and 23. Like, we've both grown, we've both been through so much during that time, but we've both supported each other so much. We are constantly learning new things about each other still every single week. Like, we're still having to learn how to move through new obstacles and new life changes and stuff like that. Like, it's not the same relationship from when we first started dating. So I guess the whole point of what I was just kind of saying is marriage and being in relationships is okay at an age this young if you are mature enough to know how to navigate through them.
Right. Snaps. That's perfect.
Like, I don't know how else to, like, to word that. I don't know. Mike and I are definitely one of the lucky ones to where we knew, like, we just truly are best friends, and, like, we know how to, like, work together.
And figure it out as you go, yeah.
But with that, I wanted to give a piece of advice, because we were talking about this too. Don't just get married because everyone around you is getting married, or because you're ready for the engagement and the wedding and the bachelorette trip and to have your bridesmaids and all that stuff. Marriage is serious, which I hope you know that. Duh, shouldn't even have to say that, but in case you need a reminder, marriage is serious. And like I just said, I had full confidence that Mike is my best friend, and I knew that I and him, we would both have the patience and the drive to work together in our relationship and work through things and be able to live life with him and grow with him. But I've said this so many times on here before. I see so many posts in the Fun on Weekdays group.
Yeah.
And I see so many red flags of girls that are like,
makes
relationship advice.
For them.
Even girls who are engaged and are finding out that their boyfriend's cheating. There was one, or fiance's cheating. There was one the other day. The girl's like, I've been in a long distance relationship for 2 years. my boyfriend and I have always been great. Lately, he's been acting really short with me. I hardly get a reply from him. When I ask him about it, he's like, oh, nothing's wrong. Like, this is just like me replying or whatever.
We're fine.
And a girl commented on it, was like, I'm not trying to say like this is your situation, but I went through the exact same thing, and he ended up coming out a little while later that he had been cheating.
Breaks my heart.
Yes, but it breaks my heart even more that you girls are putting up with this.
Yeah, that's
that
true.
You think that's okay. That you think it's okay that your boyfriend isn't giving you his commitment and his time, because that's what a relationship is you are committing to the other person. And if your boyfriend or your girlfriend, whoever it is that you're dating, if they're saying that they're too busy for you, or like, I don't have the time to talk, like, it's okay to have a life outside of a relationship, but your relationship is supposed to be the number one thing, or I think the number one thing in your life, especially if you're dating to marry.
Right.
Like, your partner is your person that you're going to be with forever, and if you aren't learning how to put your partner first in dating, then how can you ever imagine a marriage
right.
with that person?
Yeah.
Like, I don't know, if you can't take 5 or 30 seconds to stop what you're doing and to send your partner back a text or shoot a quick phone call, I just think you have some reevaluating to do towards your relationship.
That's true.
That's just a piece of advice. And that's where we're going to end the relationships and the marriage talk. That's it.
Totally turned into a relationship podcast
I did not mean to do that, y'all. I'm so sorry.
A little tangent. It's okay. You gave some great advice.
Yeah. If you want a marriage or relationship advice part 2, let me know.
She has a great one to talk to about it.
I got you. Okay.
Next up.
Let's talk babies. Let's start off by saying, stop asking people when they're having kids.
Please, and please stop giving people and yourself a timeline on when you should have babies by, or when you shouldn't have babies, because no.
Mike and I get asked all the time when we're having kids.
And they're not, I understand people are not being pushy about it, but it's still just a question you don't ask. Like, that is something between me and my partner. It's none of your business, quite frankly.
Yeah. And honestly, sometimes I don't know how to answer it, because I feel like, they're like, so when are you and Mike having kids? And I'm just like,
you didn't ask if we were ready for that yet.
Yeah, like, well, yeah, the answer is whenever we're ready.
Yeah. Whenever you see the pregnancy announcement is when we're having kids.
Yeah, it's like, that could be next month, that could be next year, it could be in 5 years. Like, I also want to say, when it comes to that too, y'all need to remember that some people struggle to get pregnant.
Right. And
obviously, I don't know if that's my case. So please don't think that I'm saying that because I'm dealing with that. I have not even tried to get pregnant. We're
not actively trying to get pregnant.
We're not trying to get pregnant, so I don't even know if that's the case with me, but it could be someday. You never know. Anyone that you're talking to might have trouble getting pregnant. Y'all, we're really making this a little bit of a depressing episode. I am so sorry. This started out...
Disclaimer.
This started out so funny and, like, telling funny stories, and now we're getting, like, so serious, and we're not trying to do that at all. I'm just like, wow, I have so much to say.
We're just talking some real stuff.
You can tell how important these topics are to us, because Alyssa and I truly do talk about all of this all the time, but I don't know. It's just one of those things, y'all, where when people are ready to have kids, they're going to have kids. We're personally not a couple that wanted to have kids right after getting married. But if it happens, then it happens. And I'm content with that.
Right.
But I don't necessarily want to try right now, if I'm being honest with y'all. I want to live my life. I still want to be able to hang out with our friends. There's still so much traveling I want to do. Going back to careers, I want our careers to be stable. I would love for Ivy and Co. to be out of my house.
I have a lot of things I want to accomplish before I have kids.
For sure. But if kids were to happen right now, it would also be okay. And that's also where we're talking about that's such a weird phase of life that
exactly
we're in. Where it would be okay, but it's also not a goal for the moment.
Right. Which, if you do have kids young, props to you. You're a superhero.
Oh, for sure.
Because I couldn't even imagine.
No, we were just
right
talking
now,
about that too. My mom had me at 19, and there is no
I can't imagine.
way. No way. Oh my gosh. No. I'm good. I'm good. I'm like watching my friends' kids so that I can give it back at the end of the day. I can go home to my house that's nice and quiet and peaceful.
And you can take a bath by yourself and shave your legs and take your time.
Yes, I can read a book. I can have a drink. Which you can do those things when you have kids too.
That's true.
But this is all the stuff that we've wanted to talk about because actually that's the perfect topic of conversation because that leads me into a TikTok that I was just watching. I think it might have been yesterday, but a couple posted all of their pictures and videos where after they got married they've been traveling the world and taking trips and doing fun stuff, and it was like I think it said something like point of view, you've waited to have kids so that you can travel.
I saw
after
this
getting
one.
married.
Yeah.
And a girl commented on it, and when I clicked on her page, she's a young mom of 2, but she commented on it and was like, stop normalizing not being able to travel when you have kids. But let's be totally honest here, y'all. Let's just be honest.
You can. It's totally normal to travel when you have
kids. But it's completely different.
Very different.
Traveling as
if you've ever traveled with a kid, you
traveling
understand.
With kids.
Yeah.
Yes. It's completely different. And so I feel like that's where it comes into play because it's people who have kids versus people who don't have kids are at such odds because it's like people who have kids think that people who don't have kids don't understand, but then like,
yeah,
you know, it's such like a battle, but you have to realize that it's normal on both sides and it's okay on both sides. And when people like us are talking about loving our lives before kids, we're not denormalizing having kids now or having kids young. We're just saying it's okay to want to focus on our relationships, our marriage, our careers, and not want to have kids yet.
Exactly. And I feel like there's totally nothing wrong with that.
No, not
like,
at all.
That's where I am too. Like,
yeah.
If I'm not ready to take care of myself as a person, what makes me think I'm ready to take care of a kid too, or like a marriage nonetheless.
Yeah. But it's also totally okay, like Alyssa was just saying this, but it's totally okay to have kids right now. We know multiple girls that we went to high school with that have kids, and they're our age. We also know guys that we're classmates with that have kids. Like, it's okay to have kids right now if that's what you choose and that's your life. These are your individual paths, and this kind of leads us to the whole point of this whole episode is to not compare where you are in your life to other people. If you are comparing, you're not going to be content. You're not going to be okay with where you are. It's okay to drop out of college. It's okay to get your doctorate. It's okay to be married. It's okay to be single. It's okay to
have kids. It's okay to never
be
want
a single mom. It's okay to be married with 4 kids at 22. Like, whatever it is, wherever you are in your life, it is okay to be where you are as long as you're doing what you want to do to be happy in your life. As long as you're striving to meet your goals and do what it is that you want to do, then it's totally okay to be where you are in life.
You just summed that up perfectly in like 2 sentences.
You.
That was great.
Thanks. I try. Don't I sound so professional right now?
That's some real life advice right there. Y'all write that one down.
But don't always take advice from me, okay? It's only
That's
sometimes and some topics that I have good advice. Maybe today's a good day for me, okay? Y'all got me on a good day. So, obviously, this was a topic that we've had on our minds for a while. It's very prominent in our lives at the moment. You do not have to take any of our advice on this episode. I really hope that we were able to make you feel okay, like, no matter what side or where you're at. The main goal was just for you to kind of hear that I feel like a lot of times, especially me with TikTok, like, I get so many compliments on my life because I feel like when you're looking through my social media, you can see I almost kind of have that picture perfect. Like, I'm married with the career. Even though I dropped out of college, I have the house, I have the husband, I have the dog, I have the friends, and I look like I have that picture perfect life when really I'm still trying to figure my stuff out too.
She's struggling too.
I'm still trying to better my marriage every single day so that it can be the best that it can be. I'm still trying to figure out what it's like to be 22 and go out at a college bar with freshmen. I'm still trying to figure out how to start a wedding planning business and how to better Ivy & Co. and how to navigate long distance friendships. That's
Brittany.
one too. We love you, Brittany, if you're listening. And Alyssa too.
Yeah, a lot of life changes, a lot of personal things going on. And it's also okay that I dropped out. I'm trying to figure out a career outside of Ivy & Co. Like, we're on different paths, but I feel like there's nothing wrong with that.
For
like,
sure.
Definitely, in the long run, do what's best for yourself. Like, grass is always going to be greener on the other side, but
yes.
water your own lawn.
Yes.
Ha ha ha.
Ha ha ha. Wow, look at Alyssa giving y'all jokes today.
Okay.
I cannot. Okay, if you have, I know Alyssa said this at the beginning of this episode, but if you have any topics you want to hear us discuss, please send us a DM or an email letting us know the suggestions. I even had someone on my TikTok live this morning asking for a Q&A on boutiques. Look through our previous episodes, y'all. Look and see if there's, because listen to like the boutique episode. It might answer some of the questions you already have. So make sure you've listened to the episodes that we have shared. It might answer some topics, or we might even briefly discuss something in one of those episodes that you were actually having a question about. But
yes,
please send in suggestions. We would love, love, love to hear them. We do have a couple of ideas going into the winter months and the Christmas season that we can't wait to do with y'all. But we always love hearing what y'all want to hear. And speaking of what y'all want to hear, we love seeing y'all's reviews and your ratings. And please like, subscribe, and share the podcast. That helps us be able to do what we want to do. We are going to try and get some sponsors soon.
A little bit of commercials.
We'll see how that goes. But your support helps us to be able to get sponsors and to be able to do this with y'all. So we've also been chatting, and I think because of our schedules, I think we are going to switch to every other week. So if you aren't getting a podcast episode every week, then that is why. If something happens and we have a great topic and we decide we want to add one in sometimes, then we might do that. But for now, just so we're not kind of off a schedule, I think we are going to switch to every other week. We are sorry about that, y'all.
So we can be more consistent, because we've been skipping weeks and missing weeks.
Life is just crazy for us, and so that's what's going to be easiest for us right now. But, so with that being said, we will see y'all in 2 weeks, and we hope y'all enjoyed today's episode.
Thanks for listening.
Bye, friends.